Good morning. It is 9 o'clock. Actually, it's a little bit after, so I am going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Arizona State Transportation Board to order. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Mack, if you would please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Hogan, would you please take the roll call, please?
Chairman Richard Searle,
Present.
Vice Chair Jen Daniels, Board Member Ted Maxwell,
Here.
Board Member Jenny Howard,
Present.
Board Member Jesse Thompson,
Here.
Board Member Jackie Mack.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum and may proceed.
All right. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here in Buckeye this morning. And Jackie, you must have picked this hat out just for me. Because bald-headed guys, we like hats.
Glad you like it.
All right, well, thank you. And it was a wonderful reception this morning. Thank you for the breakfast. Enjoyed the conversation, and it's always interesting to see how communities are growing in this state. And I was actually looking forward to this meeting this morning because it was a great opportunity to try to embarrass Mr. Meck and with all this hometown crowd. But we have another issue that came up this week, and I would like to address. And we lost a board member this past week. Gary Knight, who represented District 6, had a stroke last Wednesday, and he was transported to Phoenix for treatment. And Floyd, thank you for the notification and letting us know that what was going on. I called Bonnie, his wife, on Sunday to get an update to see how he's doing, and she shared with me that he had passed away that morning. Gary was a lifelong resident of Yuma, and I didn't think that really existed until I met Gary. Other than the 6 years that he was in the Navy, he spent his life and his career in Yuma. He retired in 2009 from business, only to immerse himself in public service. He was elected to the Yuma City Council in 2013, and he served 3 terms. He was currently in his 3rd term. He served on the Yuma MPO, RTAC, the Greater Yuma Port Authority, the Chamber of Commerce, and of course, the State Transportation Board. He was appointed by Governor Ducey in 2018 to this board, and he had just completed his 6-year term and had agreed to continue to represent District 6 until his replacement was named and approved. As most ADOT projects take at least 10 years from conception to completion, a lot of our job is just to make sure these projects make it to the finish line. Gary did an exceptional job representing his district. And just to review the current 5-year plan, will show that District 6 is well represented. If we move to the next photos, row. Right there. This photo was taken less than a month ago. As we were getting a bird's eye view of Pinal County transportation issues, and he was just sitting across from me in this Black Hawk helicopter, and he was having the time of his life. Gary never missed a meeting in the time that I've served on this board, and if anybody deserves a gold star for attendance, Gary did. And for those of us who believe that there is life after death, I think there's a good chance Gary's here today because he never missed a meeting. It was a pleasure and honor to serve with Gary, and his passing is not only a loss for the city of Yuma, the county of Yuma, but it's a loss for the state of Arizona. And with that, I would open up to other comments. Mr. Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate this. This news came as a shock, I think, to all of us, and a reminder sometimes of how short life on this planet can be. And I think the amazing thing about it is I always say I want to be able to live my life to the fullest. And I think Gary did that all the way up through the very end, because his passion was service. His passion was representing Yuma. Seeing Gary and Bonnie pull in at every single board meeting, because the two of them were inseparable on the drives. I don't know if that's because he wouldn't be able to find his way to the meetings.
That's right.
He wanted to get there. And
He could be like Jesse.
Yes. But Bonnie was always there, and I'm going to miss not only Gary's insight and wisdom, but I'm going to miss seeing Bonnie at these meetings too. They were a partnership that you couldn't take apart. They both were engaged in all the same things, and listening to the two of them banter sometimes on issues was almost as much fun. The thing that I've taken from Gary, because I feel very strongly about it too, and that is the purpose of this board is to get out and meet the communities. Great event this morning, and I really appreciate the turnout the city of Buckeye had with not only their elected officials here locally, but state representatives and folks that want to become state representatives. So there was a good turnout, and those are the conversations we need. Not only do we get to meet the people in these communities we're making decisions on, but we also get to drive over the roads, and in some cases get to fly over into the airports and figure out what they really need. And Gary, while he represented and would fight for District 6 and his core values and beliefs, he also always understood the big picture, and that's my takeaway from it. And we used to always joke about wearing the Air Force pins and the flags on our things, and this thing will never leave my chest on the rest of the time I'm on this board. So I'm going to miss Gary and Bonnie's presence at these meetings, but he definitely served his state and his community.
Chairman and to everyone here in the audience, thank you for your hospitality this morning. And remembering Gary that he's always been a good friend and mentor to me, and probably to many of us, or maybe all of us. He's been around quite a bit in public service. He's done great things, and we're well respected for that. He enjoyed going to various communities, as has been expressed it. He will show that most of these photos up on the screen that were taken out in a small Navajo community called Chinle. Standing at one location, he could see different things happening that needed some attention. And that's the kind of person he was. He didn't just go out there just to look, but rather see the reality, the situation at hand, particularly in the transportation area. And one thing, again, I'd like to express is, I know many of us have reasons because of some appointments, but now we have to call in. I've done it many times because of what I was going through at the moment. But he would always tell us, show up, meaning we needed to be here, wherever the board is meeting, to meet with the people, just that we did this morning. So again, I certainly will miss him. And most of us have been in touch. And I could feel the pain that Bonnie and the other family members are going through. But we know they have the strength to go through this challenging time. Again, thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Mack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gary and I always joke, the only thing different between he and I was just a mountain between us. That Buckeye and Yuma ran together. And I always told him he's a good neighbor, but It was an honor to work with him and with this board, and I too would like to thank the city for having breakfast this morning and certainly the turnout we had with the council people. Appreciate the board coming in this year, and I would hope the board would come back again next year and the year after, make this an annual meeting. So welcome to Buckeye.
Thank you, Mr. Meck. We might take you up on that.
Gary, I'm the new kid on the block. I've been on the board for just over a year, and Gary took me under his wing, always greeted me when I arrived at the meetings, gave me a hug, made me feel, a part of the group, kind of eased me into things, and he is a perfect example of someone who is a leader and has so much compassion for who he serves at the state level, local level. I learned a lot from him the short time that I've known him. I learned that he was very good at respectfully disagreeing, constructively, and guiding you through his reasoning of why. And in the end, it always made sense. And he's going to be very, very well missed and a true leader. So I am very honored to have known him for the time that it is. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, Lloyd, let us go ahead and do the Title VI Civil Rights Act.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to make sure you know that Ms. Jen Daniels has joined the meeting. She is virtual, but she is online as well.
All right. Ms. Daniels, did you have any comments, any remarks?
Just wanted to also express my love and appreciation for Gary Bonnie and for the committed public servant that he is. I knew Gary before when we were fellow council members. Really enjoyed him at LEAP conference every year, and he will be greatly missed. Just a true public servant. When most people in their lives are slowing down, Gary was just getting started. And I really admire his energy and tenacity and willingness to serve. So thank you for the opportunity to just chime in. And I apologize that I'm virtual today. I had every intention of being in person, but my children are still at home and they needed a mom this morning. So happy to join virtually.
All right, understood. And we will try to remember that you're there. All right, with that, Mr. Robert, if you do Title VI.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Americans with Disability Act, the Arizona State Transportation Board and ADOT do not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, or disability. No person will be excluded from participation and be denied the benefit of or be otherwise subjected to discrimination under any Arizona State Transportation Board or ADOT program or activity. To assist in measuring the public's participation, we ask each individual to please complete an online self-identification survey, and the link to that survey is on the agenda. For those in person, there are survey cards at the entrance, at the table at the entrance to the chambers. Please fill out a card and leave it there. We'll pick it up at the end of the meeting. By completing this voluntary survey, ADOT will be able to determine who attends its public meetings and how the department can improve participation. The survey will also help ADOT fulfill federal reporting requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ulrich. And with that, we will now move to the call to the audience or the call to the public. We have a number online or on the telephonic, and we will do those after we do the in-person ones. If you are online or listening, you will be muted, and once your name is called, the WebEx host will guide you through the process. So with that, there is a 3-minute time limit and will be imposed. And with that, Mr. Rohrt, will you please call the first speaker?
Yes, sir. Our first speaker, again, is the speakers here in person. Our first speaker is Mr. Arthur Hardy, Jr. Mr. Hardy. Right up there, please.
Good morning, brother. Good morning, Chair, members of the State Transportation Board Committee. My name is Arthur Hardy. I come from the Navajo Nation. I'm a chapter president. We are a subdivision of the Navajo Nation. I am here on behalf of multiple communities from the area in relation to Indian Route 15, which runs from the outside of Flagstaff to Ganado, Arizona. We are currently pursuing discussions with BIA as well as ADOT to see if that the state can incorporate that road into their state inventory, and see if there's a possibility that that could happen within our communities. It's a heavily used road. It is a route that extends all the way up into the tourism aspects of the Navajo Nation in areas that are identified as tourist areas. So the road is heavily used. At this time, BIA doesn't have the money or funding to take care of the road as it should be taken care of in relation to human safety, health and risk, other things, etc. So what we're asking for, and the discussion that maybe we can have later through my brother here, member Jesse Thompson, is to see if there's a way that we could have that road incorporated through the state and added to the inventory for O&M operations and maintenance. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Homero Vela, and I apologize for terrible enunciation. Mr. Vela? We'll come back and see if Mr. Vela joins the meeting. Next speaker is Mr. Bill Robertson. Mr. Robertson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members, director, and staff. It's my pleasure to be here before you again today. My name is Bill Robertson. I'm a resident of the City of Maricopa, and I also serve as chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of Maricopa. My comments today, again, were going to be about our needs for 347 expansion, which you're all aware of. But we had an incident yesterday that kind of highlighted the urgency of this project. I was going to talk about the history, but you've heard the history. You're well aware of our situation in Maricopa, one of the fastest growing communities in the Southwest. And Pinal County now expanding around us with rural expansion of up to 2,000 homes in the rural parts of City of Maricopa, as well as 7,000 homes that are currently entitled to be built and 30,000 more in the wings. What happened yesterday, as you know, ADOT is in a joint venture construction project with the City of Maricopa to widen the section of John Wayne Parkway, aka 347, within the city limits that's being funded mostly by our development impact fees promoted by our growth. ADOT has been pretty cooperative. The contractor's been pretty cooperative. We've had a few minor issues along the way, but yesterday it absolutely exploded. An overnight milling project for the center lane for the final phase to get this project done. The milling machine broke down about 2 a.m. in the middle of the project. The project was supposed to be done. The road reopened by 4 a.m. for the morning rush of 68% of our population leaves Maricopa every day to go to work. This milling machine failure, unplanned, obviously things happen, we're aware of that, caused a backup in every major street in the city of Maricopa until noon, until they could get the machine repaired and then finish the project. Your ears should have been burning because Facebook was blowing up, hollering at ADOT, and of course Mayor Smith got hollered at, the city council got hollered at, planning and zoning for poor planning, you know the story, you know how it works. But this was an example of one lane of 3 lanes that were there being closed, creating probably in upwards of 40,000 cars to be backed up in every major, all the way to the Auction Casino 10 miles south. People missed appointments with doctors, some missed surgery, kids go to school, and some Kyrene School District transports kids out of Maricopa up to Tempe. They were late for school by 2 and 3 hours. So we want to keep this on the radar. Chairman, your comment earlier about we know that ADOT projects take about 10 years from beginning to end. We understand that. And you all saw how we brought our overpass out of the ground pretty much in record time once we were able to get some funding together. I want to assure you that the City of Maricopa governance and City Council are working every angle possible to secure the seed funding and additional funding to get this project moving and at least get it on the 5-year plan, which it currently is not. We had a delegation go to Washington, D.C. that met with the Federal Highway Transportation Administration, Federal DOT, EPA, BIA, everybody that could possibly have their fingers in this project. And we were accompanied by members of the Gila River Indian community to that visit in D.C.
Mr. Officer, I think your 3 minutes is about up, so.
Thank you. That will wrap up my comments. It's a pleasure to be here. We appreciate the work that you do. We understand how the sausage is made, and we're here to help move that needle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your understanding.
Our next speaker is Mr. Gary Garcia Snyder.
Good morning, Chair, members, individuals in the chamber. I'm from Yuma County. I'm a resident. And it's heartfelt and beautiful words that the member in the chamber has been talking about Gary Knight. It's something that I'm excited and I'm glad that you had the opportunity to see Gary's spirit. It was something very important to hear, beautiful to hear. Gary was for Arizona. He is a strong leader for Yuma County. We love him. We will always love him. And it's great to see that y'all had the opportunity to meet Gary and see what he was for Arizona. So some of my time, I just wanted to come here and see if we can take a good 30 seconds, a moment of silence for Gary Knight and his wife, Bonnie, please. Thank you, Chair, members, esteemed and nothing. Gary Knight will always be with us. He will always be there in the leadership. And just remember, I'd be so lucky to be an elected official like Gary Knight and lead and work hard. And like you said, eloquently say, disagree with, with you, but in a great way. Thank you very much for those words. It means a lot to me as a Yuma County resident, but most importantly, for the family, Bonnie Knight, and the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Mr. Vinny Gallegos. Mr. Gallegos.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Vinny Gallegos, Executive Director of the Central Yavapai MPO. Glad to be with you all this morning. 6 months ago, we gathered in Yuma for the 24th Rural Transportation Summit. 6 months from now, we're happy to be the host in Prescott, to be the host for the 25th Rural Transportation Summit, October 16th through the 18th. In the conversation that we're all having this morning, I had the pleasure for the last 6 years of working closely with Gary Knight. Mr. Chairman, you read off some of his resume, but he also served on the Lake Havasu MPO board, and he served on our Central Yavapai MPO board. And what I would say, in the 6 years I had the chance to work with him as the director in Havasu and now the director in Central Yavapai, it's everything that has been said and more. He was a leader, he is a champion, and he is also a friend, which is a true blend of all things. And in that 6 years, I was always a phone call away. If the meetings didn't conflict with another meeting, he was in person. You know, he dedicated himself for, I'll speak for SIMPO recently, to be at our strategic planning retreats, our meetings, and if he had a Yuma conflict, then he was there virtually. So he was present, he was active, he took every phone call, every text I sent him. So with that in mind, at the 25th Summit, it's my intentions to honor him at the summit. We will create an award in his honor starting this year. He'll receive it in memoriam this year. But it's our hope that the Rural Summit will continue that on an annual basis, and we'll present that to transportation champions throughout Arizona in his name. So I would like to segue into getting you all engaged in the agenda. We're developing the agenda now. Many of you have participated. I look forward to your input. Call me, send me an email, talk with me. We're working on a very robust program. For those that may not be familiar, the Rural Transportation Summit gives rural Arizona or greater Arizona outside the greater Phoenix and Tucson area a chance to come together and set an agenda with you, our state legislators, our local legislators. It's very valuable, very important, and this is the 25th year of doing that, so that's critically important. 7 years ago, when I was in Havasu, we started a partnership with our tribal partners, and it has continued ever since then. I just had a meeting with our tribal partners through the ADOT office, working closely with them to create an agenda for full engagement in Prescott. So we are, I've been in communication with Assistant Secretary Arlando Teller. He has the intent to join us. And I would like to also thank our ADOT Director, Jennifer Toth, for your partnership with ADOT, standing side by side with SIMPO and the rest of us to develop a very engaging program. So over the next 6 months, please, by all means, reach out to me. Look forward to creating a program and being host to all of you. So in the spirit of Gary Knight, we'll continue championing all that we're doing. So again, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dan.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go back to see if Mr. Vela is here.
Good morning, Chairman and Transportation Board members. Thank you for both accommodating me and for the time that you're allowing me right now. My name is Homer Vela, and I'm here with County Manager James Manlove, representing Gila County. And we're here to talk about the different partnerships that we work with ADOT in Gila County. We have a good number of them right now. The first one that I would like to talk about is the Tonto Creek Bridge. That's a $25 million federal grant and Gila County local share initiative. And ADOT is helping us with that. They are administering the grant and managing the project. And I'm happy to report that the project is both on time and under budget at this time. We're about 60 days away from completion. We're planning a ribbon cutting ceremony on June 22nd, and we would like to invite you to that. We'll be sending you invitations so that you can, if your schedule allows, be with us and celebrate this accomplishment. It's a great accomplishment because it does two things. One of them, it's going to actually save lives. The other one is it improves the quality of life for the Tonto Basin area in a tremendous fashion. So Tonto Bridge is a great project that we have partnered together with. Today you'll also be looking at two contracts to award. They're in Gila County. They're highway safety improvement programs. They're federal funding. And again, that's the reason why we rely and depend on ADOT to help us manage these kind of projects, where either federal funding is very complicated or the complexity of the project. And rural counties like Gila County really appreciate that. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is agenda item number 7 that's on your agenda. It's a SMART grant. And somebody who came up with that was really smart, because it actually allows counties, rural counties, to actually be shovel ready so that we can go after federal grants. Recently we applied for a federal grant for this same project, and it came back a negative because we don't have the document that says here's what we need to do. So the funding here is to design the reconstruction of Russell Road. Russell Road, 2 miles of it basically got obliterated with the drainage from Telegraph Fire. It actually kind of wiped out the road. The road serves the Miami Globe area, various communities next to a hospital. It's a secondary access to, in case something were to happen to US 60, that there was a blockage or something. It allows usage of the Canal Wilderness area. It's an important road for us. We've maintained it for 50 years. And with your approval of that funding to design the road, we can move forward with the looking for federal money. So those are the things I wanted to share. It's about a partnership we enjoy with you, and we appreciate that. And I want to again invite you to our ribbon cutting ceremony on June 22nd. And with that, I'll leave you with our appreciation for the partnership.
Thank you very much. And you know, it's very seldom that government things are called smart, so.
Mr. Chairman, those are the requests in person. Moving on to the ones online, as a reminder, please raise your hand so WebEx host can get you unmuted. Our first speaker is Ms. Jennifer Meter.
Hi, Council Chamber and everyone in this meeting today. My name is Jennifer Meter. I live in Colorado. I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. My concern actually is about State Route 95 between Parker and Lake Havasu City. My family lives in Lake Havasu. There's been several fatalities on this stretch of highway. Unfortunately, my family was involved in a head-on collision where my niece's husband died and my niece was severely injured. I feel like this highway is mostly two-lane. Occasionally, there's curves that were the limited sight distance and it's very busy. Passing is very dangerous in a lot of the areas on this stretch of highway. And with Lake Havasu tripling in population, I think is only adding to the problem. And I know it's a personal thing with me because of what happened with my niece who's 20 and her husband was also 20 and just got back from Iraq. He was in the Air Force and unfortunately died on the stretch of highway. I'm just curious if there'll be a study in that area or some funding for improvements in the future.
Ms. Meter, we'll have to have someone get back with you on that. We really can't discuss items that are not on the agenda. So we'll have someone from staff will get back with you.
Thank you.
Ms. Meter, do you have any other comments?
No, not at this time. Thank you, though.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Supervisor Ann English. Ms. English? Oh, she's already raised her hand.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Supervisor, we can. Please make your comments.
Thank you. Chairman Searle, Vice Chair Daniel, board members, Director Chosen, and staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I was going to say that my first comment should be about my condolences to the board on the death of Gary Knight. Having met him a few years ago when he made the over 300-mile trip to Douglas for an ADOT board meeting, he showed me that he was a rural ally, and we had no one to speak for us at that time on the board, and he took up the banner as well as some of the other people on the board. So we'll always be grateful for that. Especially I'm here today to ask you for positive consideration for Cochise County on item number 7. The Arizona Smart Grant is the next vital step in the partnership between the City of Douglas, ADOT, and Cochise County to get the connector road funding for the new commercial port outside of Douglas. We have to submit a funding plan for the road to GSA, who will be building the port, and the money is allocated for that. To keep the progress continuing for the construction of the port, we need to have this funding plan in place. And we need this commitment from you on item number 7 for funding for the SMART Grant. Economic development in Southeast Arizona is heavily dependent on this facility becoming a reality. Arizona and the United States will benefit from this new facility, which encourages trade with Mexico, our largest trading partner. You have always been willing to work with us, and we're asking for an additional commitment to help us get the planning in place and the funding plan in place so that GSA can keep moving forward with this project. And I thank you so much for all that you've done for us in the past, and I'm sure that you'll be hearing from us in the future as we try to put the little pieces together in order to make this connector road a reality. Having said that, remember, it's item number 7, on the SMART grant, Arizona SMART grant for Cochise County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ann, and I appreciate keeping your comments to 3 minutes. So, next.
Our next speaker is Mayor Donald Hewish. Mayor Hewish. Mayor, you're unmuted. Please make your comments.
Chairman Soto, members of the board, Director Tothany, Dr. Staff, good morning. My name is Donald Hewish, and I'm the mayor of the city of Douglas. First of all, I want to express my sadness at the loss of our dear friend Gary Knight. We were shocked by the news and pray that his family and all his loved ones find peace in their hearts and in the many memories he left with us. He leaves behind a legacy of community service, charity of heart, and passion for Yuma and Arizona. It will be greatly missed. I'm here because later today you'll be considering the vote on 2 SMART grant applications that are critical for Cochise County and the city of Douglas. As you know, the federal government is in the process of spending over $400 million for the Douglas two-port solution, which includes the construction of a new port of entry west of Douglas. The General Services Administration has indicated that for them to fully commit the funding for this project, they need to see a funding path with the connector road. GSA is concerned that the port will be built without a connector road to the highway. Recent estimates point to a project that will cost more than $55 million. I know that the ADOT team is working on options to reduce that cost. To date, ADOT is spending $1.5 million on the DCR and environmental compliance, and the city received $8.2 million from last year's state budget to help pay for the road. Today, we're going to be voting on a $5 million SMART grant application by Cochise County to pay for the design phase of the connector road. This is a critical step for the project, but also an essential message to GSA that you, ADOT, Douglas, Cochise County, and Arizona are committed to making sure the connector road is completed in time for the service of the project and secure the $214 million that GSA will spend on the new port. The ADOT grants team is working on a federal grant to pay for the remaining balance needed for pay for construction. We are coordinating with our congressional delegation to have them encourage the U.S. Department of Transportation to award the grant in due time. The second SMART grant application for the city is $214,000 to be used for our downtown revitalization project. This is a critical project for our downtown merchants and retail section, as the federal government will be also spending $186 million in the modernization of existing port for non-commercial traffic. I thank you for the consideration you give to the counties and cities' applications, and should they be approved, I respectfully request that connector road be placed in the 5-year plan. Placement of the project on the 5-year plan will show GSA the level of commitment needed to complete the new commercial port of entry project. And I thank you for your time and your dedicated service.
Thank you, Mayor Hewish.
Our next speaker is Ms. Kate Morley. Ms. Morley, please raise your hand.
Members of the board, Kate Morley, I'm the Executive Director of Metro Plan. I'm here today to share the excellent news that Coconino County was recently awarded its Protect application for the US 89 Post-Wildfire Resiliency Project in the amount of $15.5 million. And I want to extend my gratitude to the board who made that application possible through the award of a $3.7 million SMART Fund grant so that the county could make that application and have the match available for it. A little bit about the project. The US 89 Post-Wildfire Resiliency Project is a crucial component of post-wildfire flood mitigation on US 89. It's a huge win for rural communities who have to get to work, school, medical care, and flight staff from outlying areas in Coconino County and on our tribal nations. 89 is also one of 2 ways into Grand Canyon and other national parks, Utah, Colorado, and it's an important part of the economy of the state of Arizona and northern Arizona in particular. And we really couldn't be more excited about this award. We look forward to working with ADOT staff to deliver the project and really appreciate the SMART Fund and the value that that has had for projects within the state of Arizona. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Morley.
Our next speaker is Ms. Lucinda Andriani. Liz Andriani, please raise your hand.
Morning, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Oh, wonderful, thank you. Good morning. My name is Lucinda Andriani. I serve as Deputy County Manager and Flood Control District Administrator for Coconino County. And as Kate just indicated, I've just gotten this morning to say thank you. Thank you so much for your support. This was the only project approved by the Department of Transportation, only Protect grant that was approved for this within the state of Arizona, and we all believe that that had a great deal to do with the support from the State Transportation Board. So I'm just here today on behalf of both the county and the district to say thank you very much for your support. We're very excited about moving forward to this. This is a critical corridor for northern Arizona. Tremendous impacts from the 13 closures that we had during the monsoon season in 22, and we're very excited about moving this forward and reducing those impacts and improving the public safety, not only for the transportation corridor, but also the surrounding area. So again, thank you very much for your support and commitment to this very important public safety project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Andretta, and it is good to hear that these grants are going and are successful, so appreciate the feedback from both you and Ms. Morley.
Mr. Chairman, those are all the requests to speak that we've received.
All right, and if there is no other requests, I'm going to go ahead and close the call to the audience. This takes us to the Director's Report. Director Todd.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and staff for welcoming us to your city. We are very happy to be here in Buckeye. Next slide, please. I'd also like to begin with condolences to Board Member Gary Knight's family and loved ones on behalf of ADOT and also Federal Highway Administration. We were very sorry to hear the news of his passing. We definitely wish comfort and peace for his friends and family, especially his children and his wife, Bonnie. He will be missed, and his passion for transportation carries on in the projects that we undertake every single day. So let me transition and give you a brief update on some projects. First, before I go to State Route 88, you did hear today from the public comments that the contractor had a breakdown on 347 that created some severe traffic issues. I have asked staff to look at what happened and how we can do things differently, and we will be working with the city and the mayor to respond accordingly. I'd also now like to turn my attention to State Route 88. I recently had the opportunity to visit the section of State Route 88 that was damaged by flooding in 2019. As you know, earlier this year, the board approved a plan to restore limited access to 5 miles of the damaged Apache Trail while we seek funding for the more extensive upgrades. That interim plan includes preliminary maintenance work, which has started, along with contracted construction to be completed in coordination with the U.S. Forest Service. It was really great to be out there to really put eyes on it and understand the complications of the project. As I mentioned, maintenance activity is underway. Just last week, when I was out there, the culvert pipes were being cleared and road grading began in certain particular areas. As for the contracted construction work, cultural and biological reports are just being completed. Nesbitt Contracting has been selected and will serve as the project's coordinator. We're also beginning to prepare a public communication plan related to the necessary closures that will be required during construction as well. Next slide, please. So today we're wrapping up Work Zone Awareness Week. This is a week that's especially important to us in transportation because it offers an opportunity for us to amplify our year-round messages concerning work zone safety. This week we've focused on getting the word out through media interviews, news releases, message boards, social media, any way we can to get that make it a fun public service announcement. We've shared with the public that since 2019, statewide law enforcement crash reports show that at least 59 people have been killed in a work zone related crash along Arizona highways, and that includes local streets. We do tell drivers to always expect the unexpected in a work zone, to be alert, to pay attention, and also to slow down. As you can see in these photos, our teams really work to get the word out, and we celebrate with a Go Orange Day, usually on Wednesday, midweek of Work Zone Awareness Week. Next slide, please. So staying on the subject of safety, I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of several upcoming workshops for our updates to the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, as well as our Active Transportation Safety Action Plan. You're invited to attend any of these, one or more, of our stakeholder workshops. We held our first one in Phoenix this past week, and we have an upcoming workshop in Flagstaff, Tucson, and then also a virtual one, as you see on the screen here. As stakeholders, obviously, you should have received information, and if you did not, please let me know so that we can make sure that that does occur. But if you need any help in registration or anything, please let us know, and we can help you with that. Next slide, please. Additionally, we have planned public meetings in Phoenix, Flagstaff, and Tucson as well, and also virtually. And you can see those dates and times and locations. And all this information is available on a.safetyplan.com. Previously, I've shared with you that our goal for the Strategic Highway Safety Plan is to reduce life-altering crashes by 20% by 2030. And that plan is based on a safe system approach, which comes from the U.S. Department of Transportation. It really emphasizes that we have a shared responsibility for improving safety on roadways. Our Active Transportation Safety Action Plan also will be our first in Arizona. It combines the pedestrian and bicycle safety action plans, and it's focused really on improving that safety for pedestrians and bicyclists when they interact with the state highway system. I will say that the important thing about the Strategic Highway Safety Plan is it's not just ADOT's plan. It really encompasses all the roadways, all the public roadways in the state. So we need that stakeholder input and that jurisdictional help to be able to reach that goal of reducing the fatalities by 20%. So finally, I want to give you an update on a few recent grant applications. As you heard earlier, we submitted 2 applications for the congressionally directed spending funds. And one is for the Douglas International Port of Entry Connector Road project, as you heard about. Our pre-construction activities on that project total cost of $2.8 million. The other application is for the Burton Wells Rest Area Truck Parking Project, and that includes design, right-of-way, and construction of 103 additional commercial truck parking spaces. In addition, we're preparing 2 applications for the multimodal project discretionary grants in collaboration with the local entities, and one being the Douglas Port of Entry Connector Road, and that will be for the construction. So we have one for the congressional spending for the pre-construction activities, and then the MPDG grant, which is a federal grant for the actual construction. The other grant that we're submitting for the MPDG grant is on US 93, Gap A, and also Vista Royale, which includes construction of the remaining segments along US 93 corridor in the Wickenburg area. So we will keep you updated as we hear back on those grants. We're cross our fingers, knock on wood, anything we can do to help to get those grant applications approved. So with that, I'll hand it over to Anthony for our legislative report.
Good morning. I do actually just want to start very quickly with a great story about Board Member Knight. I had interacted with him multiple times, but I saw him at the most recent Rural Transportation Summit, and we sat down and talked for about an hour about transportation funding. I don't know that he recognized who I was. I didn't bother to tell him. I just sat there and listened to him, and I just thought in my head, this is great. This is exactly what we need. Somebody who's willing to sit down and talk with anybody about transportation issues and specifically transportation funding. So I always admired that about him. Did want to provide just a quick update on the legislative session. Today is the 103rd day of the legislative session. Both the chambers this past week actually voted to extend the session past that 100-day mark. I do want to start off with some good news for the state of Arizona. It's been alluded to a little bit here in the meeting, but the SMART Fund on April 9th, Governor Hobbs signed House Bill 2318 into law, which made a variety of reforms to the SMART Fund, including standardizing the eligibility by clarifying that any entity eligible for a federal surface transportation grant is eligible for the SMART Fund. This ensures that the tribes, COGs, MPOs, and regional transit organizations are eligible for the SMART Fund. The bill also allows the State Transportation Board the discretion to rebalance the available funding twice a year. I think that's a really valuable provision that will allow us to better spend that money. We are very thankful for the partnership that we had with the stakeholders on this bill. Especially want to thank the Rural Transportation Advocacy Council, Kevin Adam, who really lobbied the bill, and then Representative Tim Dunn, who sponsored the bill. The fiscal year 2025 budget. So the legislature has entered into a bit of a hiatus as budget discussions and negotiations begin to ramp up. The legislature has begun just convening once a week as those just once a week to conduct normal business, utilizing those other days to have budget conversations. Regarding the budget, it is important to note that the Finance Advisory Committee did meet on April 11th. That meeting is critical as these forecasts essentially are going to be used as a baseline for developing the next year's budget proposal. The committee noted that the general fund revenue collection has improved marginally since the January meeting, so that's good. As a result, the general fund revenue shortfall, has declined from $835 million to $650 million in FY 2024, and then from $879 million down to $676 million in fiscal year 2025. For the ADOT continuation, I will say the continuation of ADOT and several other state agencies remains unresolved. These issues will likely be discussed as part of the overall budget negotiations. I would reiterate again, though, that there has been no discussions about not continuing ADOT. There have been different positions as to the time frame for that continuation. So 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, or 8 years, the typical numbers that are being discussed. And then there's been a lot of discussions about the terms of that continuation. But again, nothing to suggest that anyone is interested in not continuing the agency. With that concludes my update. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Mr. Marshall, the policy wants to have a couple of questions. So clarification, obviously the change to the SMART funds was signed into law, but it will not take effect until 90 days after the end of signing that, correct? So at this point, we're still operating under the old rules.
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Maxwell, that's correct. And we don't have a specific date for that yet, obviously, but as soon as we have that, we can share that with you.
So what are you hearing on ADOT continuation? I understand that the 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever the years is one issue. Are some of the other restrictions that are being looked on ADOT either still seriously part of the conversation, or in your opinion, do you think those will go away as part of the budget negotiation?
Yeah, in the sense of the timing, I am hearing a lot more towards the 6 and the 8 year. Definitely hearing a lot of conversation about a 6 year. I think 6 years is kind of that happy medium that the Democrats can live with, and on the Republican side, they're kind of willing to go up to that 6 year mark. So that's in the sense of timing, that's what I'm hearing. As far as the restrictions, they're changing quite a bit as the bills were moving through the process. So there was kind of, there was a lot of things in the beginning, and then it was kind of honed down a little bit. I think that a lot of those restrictions will be discussed as part of the budget negotiations, and I think the majority of them will, our position again has been that we would prefer the clean continuation, so that's what we're going to continue to push for. I know the executive, the governor's office, is continuing to push for that as well.
And then the last question is regarding to the budget. They're early in the budget posturing, there was discussion about clawback of transportation funds that either hadn't been expended or projects that had not been done from those named, legislature projects from last year. Are you hearing about any of those funds that are in danger of being clawed back, and specifically if you've got any insight? Because I know the city of Douglas obviously is asking for smart ground. They mentioned the $8.2 million they've been given. Is there any fear that that will be clawed back as part of the budget negotiation?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Board Member Maxwell, I haven't heard anything specific to the Douglas Port of Entry
Actually,
connector.
I have, and I think it's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, that's a huge one for the state, as well as the Interstate 10 money, which I understand is also safe.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I apologize. That's what I meant, as I haven't heard any discussion as for that project as part of the clawbacks.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And just a comment, Anthony, this is April 19th. We just made it through April 15th, and I know I sent a check. So maybe that deficit is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So with that, continue.
You gotta sell a lot of pistachios to make up the debt.
I know. Oh, Jesse, I'm sorry. Yes.
Board. I'm really happy that a couple of individuals from Flagstaff made a comment about all the good things that the small program is doing. I think the more that those kind of statements are made, I think it will excite even the governor to continue, even the legislature to continue this program. So it does make a lot better in getting a lot of these projects underway. The other thing is that regarding the SMART program, I like to say that we look into how the tribe will forward their application for this SMART program funding. I know that they probably have a different process that they go through. I know at the moment there's at least a couple of tribes that are working directly with the counties. But now it seems maybe a little bit easier for them to forward these directly themselves. So I'd like to see that more. We do an outreach about these changes, not to do with government, so we can get more done. I know they're probably already talking about it, but I just felt I need to say that. So thank you very much.
Is there anything else to the director's report? All right. Thank you very much. And if there's no other questions, we'll now move to item number 2, which is the district report. I believe that's going to be presented by Bruce.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Transportation Board, welcome to the area. The west side of Buckeye is within the Southwest District, and so SR 85, which is part of the district, is only a couple miles to the west. So we appreciate the opportunity to update you on what is happening within our district. Currently under construction, we have 10 projects which are taking place throughout the entire district. They're listed here. I don't want to go through each of these, but I did want to mention one project in particular. This happens to be a project that Board Member Knight was very fond of, and he championed it. And I appreciate, and the Southwest District and the residents of Yuma County appreciate the support of the board for this project. This is US 95 immediately north of Yuma. The project is from Rifle Range Road to Welton Mohawk Canal. We're expanding that to 5 lanes, including putting a bridge across the Welton Mohawk Canal. So currently the status of the project, the bridge is nearly half built, with the concrete going to be poured starting next week on half of the bridge, and the paving is almost complete on the western half of the new highway. So we're going to be shifting traffic over in a couple months so we can complete the eastern half of the project. Currently underway, we have a truck parking availability project, which is part of a multi-state effort to inform truckers of open spaces for them to get rest or take sleep through, from Texas to New Mexico through Arizona into California.
Actually, I saw in New Mexico, they've already got signs up identifying vacant spots.
Yes, they're already constructed and open. California is still just finishing up on the design, and we're in the midst of construction right now. Just south of Gila Bend, we have a pavement life extension project that's going on. We just finished up with a chip seal, and we'll be looking at the final coat micro seal and starting up within 2 weeks, which will be followed by striping. Also down in Gila Bend, we have a ADA, the American with Disabilities Act improvements we're going to be going through, and where we have the right-of-way, we'll be looking at sidewalks and driveways to make them compliant with the Act. Here's a list and location of all of our pavement preservation projects, also known as mill and fills throughout the districts. These are ones that are already underway, as well as a couple of them which are just going to be starting up following your approval a couple months ago on the projects. Coming up in the next couple of years, FY24 and FY25, we have projects on both the state system as well as on local roads. So here we have them color coded. The orange ones are on the state system, and local projects are in the bright yellow. Also in FY25, we have some more projects coming up spread throughout our district. Notice the local ones down in Yuma County. This is only part of the ones for FY25. These are additional ones in FY25. The local projects are being funded with safety funds. So we appreciate the opportunity for the local agencies to also improve their roads and make them safer for the traveling public. That's a brief update that I have for today, and so if you have any questions, I'd be open to answering your questions. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Mr. Penske at this time? Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Item number 3, consent agenda. Does any member want any item removed from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes, sir.
Staff would like to request that we remove item 3B. It's a right-of-way resolution for abandonment that some developments have recently been brought forward that we need additional time to prepare. So unless obviously other board members have something to remove from the consent agenda, I'd ask to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 3B.
All right, thank you. If there isn't, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 3B.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion by Board Member Maxwell and a second by Board Member Howard. As there really isn't any need for any discussion, just to facilitate it with Board Member Daniels being remote, I am going to kind of reverse this and just ask if there's any opposition. So if there is any opposition to this motion, I'd ask for a sign. Seeing no opposition.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think we need to get an aye identified. Now, I don't think there's any need to do anything else.
Okay, very good. The motion passes unanimously. Let's go ahead and move to item number 4, which is our financial report by Ms. Christine Ward.
Thank you. Good morning, board members. First, regarding the loss of Mr. Knight, I would like to say I will miss him. He He was a model for public service, and he had a lot of courage. He would come and talk to me about things that other folks would not, which would be with regards to dealing with transportation funding. He had ideas, and he wanted to try and really address that issue, and I appreciated that. So I'm sure he's here for this financial report, because he loved him. All right. So let me see here. This will be a pretty brief report. It's a pretty fortunately, it was an eventless month with regards to the finances, and I really appreciate that. So HERF revenues are right within the forecasted range. We've collected about $1.3 billion year to date. All the categories of revenue were fairly just moderate in nature. We had one outlier, and I will presume it's because you all went and bought new cars or something along those lines, because VLT went shooting through the roof. When we dug into that, what we found is that's the result. It's a timing issue. Where it actually should have been recognized in the preceding month, so it was a delayed reconciliation. But that's the only real significance in this month's report. Moving on to the regional area road fund, RARF is a little above forecast with $500 million collected year to date. Nothing of significance to report in the individual categories for the month of February. Just no big story here. So with that, I have nothing further to report, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Christine at this time? Mr. Maxwell, just a comment?
I was going to say that may have been one of the most boring financial reports I've ever seen.
Wait a minute, I thought I had that distinction.
Oh, we're
there are exceptions to the rule.
Okay.
I will work on that, Mr. Maxwell.
Now let's bring this meeting back to order here. All right. Where's my gavel when I need it? Item number 5, Mr. Paul, you're on the podium now for a while.
Well, hopefully not too long. Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members, Chairman Cyril. Thank you for having me today to provide the Multimodal Planning Division report. Excuse me. So today we'll cover the tribal transportation update. We'll give you a little overview of the public comments received to date related to the tentative 2025-2029 5-year program. Then, just kind of building off the last meeting, we wanted just to give you a little overview of the project programming process to see if there's any questions or we answered the questions that came up from the last meeting. So just to touch on our planning to programming a little bit here for the 2026-2030 cycle. See, we're already working on the tentative program, plus we're beginning to build and do some of the preliminary work related to the 2026 program. So a lot of those preliminary work is reaching out to the tribal communities, making sure they understand the call for projects process, and that way we can help address some of their needs when they can submit for projects through the district or the NPO or COG. And so we met with so far the Salt River, Pima, Maricopa Indian community, and the Wallapai tribes have submitted project nominations. So that's an ongoing activity that we'll keep pursuing and reaching out. Then just kind of building off some previous meetings where we talked about the safety roundtable. Those conversations continue to happen. Our tribal liaisons, both Paula Brown and John Steen, are doing a great job in keeping this moving forward. So we're still looking at the May time frame to have the roundtable and working with the tribes as it relates to transportation safety, making sure we get the participation during the summit and roundtable, so making sure that some of their needs are heard and concerns voiced. Then just some of our ongoing meetings. Our two staff and others meet regularly throughout the months in between board meetings, working with our tribal partners, both in operations and just areas related to, like, still we're really working hard with some of them on getting the track system where we get the data from the tribal law enforcement to help us identify the appropriate countermeasures for the types of crashes. And so we're working with the San Carlos tribe on the recent road safety assessment that was conducted, and looking toward hoping some of those projects make it into the P2P program for consideration. Additional outreach. Our tribal liaisons did work with the ASU professor for American Indian Studies, and our team did a presentation on infrastructure within tribal and infrastructure in federal lands. And so in the previous year, we worked with the students to discuss how ADOT works with the tribes in Arizona to build and maintain a transportation system. So just a good outreach effort there to try to encourage and inform others about all the transportation services that ADOT provides. Then list a little bit on our summary of public comments received to date on the tentative 5-year program. Just a real quick where we're at in the process. Again, we're the tentative program's out for public comment. Next month is the scheduled public hearing. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier, we're working on a call for projects for the next P2P cycle as well. So there's a lot of activity in our programming section within the division. So some of the public comments received to date. Well, so far we've done one news release. We've done 2 governor gov delivery email notices, which issued to nearly 13,000 subscribers. We've done the social media posts on Facebook and Twitter, then our ADOT website as well. And so, as you can see that the box on the left, some of the comments received to date on the tentative program, a total of 530. And it tells you that how the split was as far as they received email or online or etc. As far as other comments. Then they were categorized on the right by 450 were related to highways. We have 11 to transit, 1 for airport, and others as well. So still soliciting those comments and trying to get the word out to hear from the public. And so some of the routes we received some of the major public theme and comments. SR 347, as far as the widening and improvements there. Then there were Interstate 10 from in the Maricopa County region. We had comments related to improvements of the Jackrabbit Trail intersection, the TI there, and also widening of I-10. Then also comments from the La Paz County area related to widening of I-10 to the California border. Then we heard from folks in Pima County related to one of the biggest projects in that region, the Country Club to Keno TI project, and along with Cochise County, where there were comments related to some operation issues associated with the Skyline Road interchange as far as ramp.
And follow up, I would add that is a valid issue along with the J6, which is right next to it.
But also on, we had 19 comments related to US 60 as far as widening and resurface 60 from the Loop 303 to Wickenburg, and also improvements to the East Valley from Mesa to Gold Canyon, referencing a bypass. Then on Interstate 17, there was 10 comments, both from the Maricopa and Mojave County region, comments related from improving the stack on I-10 and I-17, along with system interchange at I-17 and the 303. Then from Mojave County region, extend I-17 widening to Cordes Junction at State Route 89, and other concerns with pavement conditions. And so just a little, you received the Excel file related to the board comments, and this provides a little tutorial to help you navigate through that. As you can see, highlighted the board summary, then the responses, then as you can see the tabs on the bottom there break out each comment by route. And so those, hopefully if you're interested in a certain location, you can work through the Excel file, and if you have any questions always on any of these items, they're always high level, but if you like for MPD staff to get into the weeds of any of these at any time, just reach out and we can make those meetings happen. Any questions on the MPD update?
Ms. Maxwell.
Yeah, Paul, so obviously the comments are a key part of the feedback into the 5-year plan. And at the last board meeting, when we had an opportunity to go out and take a look and actually experience the run-in distances to get on I-10 at Canal Park Road. Canal Park Airport Road. Did we receive, and do you know if there's been any comments or feedback regarding those issues? And I know a lot of times it's comments about the 5-year plan, but is this not also the process that people who want to see something put into the 5-year plan would also, even if it's not in there, make comments regarding that?
You bet. That's the opportunity to provide comments, and a lot of times we do get like operational type comments, and that does bring a trigger for us to go out and do some field reconnaissance as far as operations of certain locations.
Yeah, I think it might be important that we start kind of tracking some of the, obviously TIs are one of the most important things we update and improve, and as there's more usage and more growth, and you saw the one regarding down at Cochise County, we might want to start taking a look at where those TIs have true safety issues as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And in that case, it's not so much the TI, which is expensive, it's extending the access.
Yeah, the acceleration ramps, I understand.
It worked fine if you were driving one of the Lucid cars or one of those, but
yeah.
A little slower acceleration was pretty dangerous.
Okay.
Like yours?
I believe my car pulled away from yours when we were getting ours.
Any other comments or questions? Jesse?
Chairman, board members, and the audience. I represent Patrick County, Navajo, and Coconino County. And there are other smaller counties as well. And it appears to me that they're all satisfied with the 5-year plan, or that we need to get more work to them to see how their comments will be on the 5-year plan. It's just a comment.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Paul, I've got one, and this might be appropriate for the folks that are pushing for the 347 as well, and it's going back to the connector road for the Douglas Port. There's the request to see these items put in the 5-year plan, but one of the restrictions that we have is they have to be funded. And since these projects don't have designated funding right now, is there any other type of plan that we could put these projects in that would at least give the communities, I don't want to say word hope, but at least an encouragement that they are on our radar, that we are going to be addressing?
I think some of the projects that have the regional significance and their priority for the region, for the state, and for the board, there's avenues where you could show a project that's unfunded in the program. It's called a illustrative project, but it identifies it as a project of significance that it makes it to the program. It's an unfunded need, is what.
And I think that would be very appropriate for both the Douglas project and the 347. At least let our constituents know that they've been heard.
Understood, Chairman, board members, and it is our intent. We're in the process of brainstorming those projects that we want to put in the project as illustrative, and those will be presented to the board during the study session in June.
Okay. Thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, Paul, you're going to go ahead and move to
I
the
think
next item, which I've kind of lost track where we're at.
No, I'm still doing my part of the update.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, no, we're questions on the tribal portion of it. Just one presentation with multiple topics.
Paul, I apologize, I do have one question.
Okay.
That's fine.
Back several slides ago, you spoke of a safety study on Highway 70. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I don't have the details. They did a road safety assessment, and typically what we do in a road safety assessment, say we get a project team, they look at, say in this particular instance, it was an intersection, so you have a diverse traffic team, not just ADOT staff, but with other locals, and they kind of do evaluations over the intersection. And so the study will provide recommendations, for types of countermeasures to improve some of the issues associated with the intersection, if there is. And so we can provide an update at the next meeting as far as results of that RSA. I'll give you a status of it.
So that takes you to last minute items, doesn't it?
No.
Oh.
No.
I don't know. That might. I think that was less a question than maybe a suggestion.
I'm game either way. It's in the box here. So just an overview of the project programming process. Just kind of wanted to touch on how projects get into the program. And there's typically 3 ways projects get in the program. Those are by our competitive programs. Those are by the planning to programming process, which is part of the P2P. Then we also have the ADOT sub-programs. So these are our competitive programs. I think you've heard various times we've talked about each one of these, but we have the highway and safety improvement, which is the biggest pot, all the way down to the off-system bridge with the two programs, both that one requires a match and one doesn't. All these are geared for local projects only. The highway and safety improvement, ADOT is eligible, but it's a competitive, so we're competing statewide with all the local agencies as well. But the size of the program is for this year is $92.6 million. Then down below you can see the process, how the cycle goes as far as we do application rounds, we score the projects, they become the prioritized list, which the board sees and approves. Then finally we get into execution of a contract and the project begins. So that's just a brief overview of the cycle there for competitive programs. So next we have the sub-programs, which is part of the 5-year program. When you look through the 5-year program, you'll see a couple pages with all the various sub-programs that we have. And so they're based on the sub-programs are geared for projects along the national highway system, and throughout the year, some of the projects are generated from these sub-programs. Typically, on a line item, we have line items that are part of the program, but when there's additional funding still remaining, it goes into the sub-program, and we create new projects throughout the year as they become eligible. But the process there on the bottom, projects are identified. We have the internal technical review, which is the sub-program managers and the technical staff. It goes through PPAC, and eventually the board approval. Then we execute the contract. The contract is selected and executed, then we begin the project. Then we'll touch on the third method projects get into the program is the P2P process. And again, we shared this slide a couple times where the link between the long-range transportation plan, which gives us our recommended investment choices, and those recommended investment choices, projects are generated through the planning and programming process. Then they become part of the tentative program, which the board approves every June. Then why do we do P2P? There's both federal and state statutes and federal regulations require us to do the planning to programming process. You've seen this a couple times. This is an overview of the P2.
This is just an example of why it's so hard to get anything in.
Oh, it flows real well. It flows real well.
It just doesn't flow fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
But just wanted to highlight where we're at. You know, we're in the project nominations. We're in the April timeframe where we're working with the board, the COGS, the MPOs, the tribal partners, and the districts. Then we have, ongoing early coordination, just getting all the meetings set up. We're doing field visits as we speak, and this is an ongoing preparation to get those where we shoot for June, where the actual nominations come in that get scored and evaluated.
Oh, yeah, one quick question. So, low-performing projects, top-performing, is that purely based on the ratings that they are given through the process, or what defines a low-performing project versus a top-performing project?
Well, it's based on the scoring.
So it's based on the scoring, the PT?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Because the projects can get back in the system and be evaluated. Because sometimes you may change the scope or modify the project.
And that decision to put them back into the system resides with the folks who have submitted it the first time? I mean, it doesn't just sit in a loop forever?
No, it gets, whoever typically is a champion, if the district or the MPO are doing the submittal, they'll resubmit it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So just a little more in depth of the overview of the scoring. Projects that we have the 4 categories that we score through the P2P. We have the pavement preservation. You can see our annual investment target with the 2029 program, tentative program, is $390 million. Then we look at bridge preservation. Our investment target with the funding there is $60 million. Modernization at $132 million. And the expansion hasn't been determined at this time. But those the scoring, it gives you a breakdown of we have technical scoring, then we have the district scoring along with the policy score, and I'll run through those real quick. And so on the pavement preservation category, these are activities that improve or sustain the condition of the transportation facility to a state of good repair as far as our pavement. Then on the right are the different types of work types, fog, chip seal, cape seals. You can see those. Then this is how the scoring is broke down. As you can see, the technical score is at 51%, the district score at 40%, and the policy score, which has 2 parts, is disadvantaged communities and if it's a scope project from the previous P2P cycle. Then we look at how the scoring for the bridge preservation is broke down. Bridge preservation activities that improve or sustain condition of the state of good repair again. It's the key word, state of good repair. Work types, they're on the blue on the right. And as far as the scoring, technical and safety is 60%. Then we have the district score of 30%, then the policy score, and we have, in this case, we have, if it's on the freight percentage, the truck factor comes into play, the functional classification of the roadway, then again, as far as if it's in disadvantaged communities area. And similar to the modernization, those are improvements that upgrade the efficiency and functionality of the safety without adding capacity. These are like spot improvements type projects, and you can see the scoring breakdown on the left there. Again, safety is a little bit heavy factor there, and as you can see, the safety score is broken down throughout based on fatalities, serious injuries. Then the expansion projects are those that add capacity. And so there's a breakdown of the scoring of the technical score of 50%, followed by the district safety score and the policy score as well. And some of the work types include, new lanes, like I-10, the expansion there that we're doing, along with adding interchanges or upgrading other capacity along the state system. So this, again, our timeline. The call for new projects is from May to June. The project rankings will occur throughout up to August. And we'll have our workshops through September. Then the final P2P list comes to our programming team in October. Then we work and prepare the tentative program that we present every February to the board. So that's kind of the process. So I get up here and get to speak, but those who actually do all the work, those are two key members of the planning and programming team. And so if you need reach out and we get specific detailed questions, feel free to call me and we can include Lisa and Jason as appropriate. That concludes the update.
All right, thank you, Mr. Patney. Ms. Candace, are you still with us? Just making sure.
She's still online, yes, sir.
Yeah, very good. And I'm assuming no other questions? All right, move on to your next item.
Your mic might be off, Chairman Zerl.
Oh, it is off. Thank you. Sorry about that. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. With that, your next item, Paul, which is, I believe, 6.
Yes, sir. Okay, so item 6 is our project modifications and new projects from our Priority Programming Advisory Committee recommendations. So we'll start off with project modifications. So Chairman Cerro, board members, for your consideration, changes to the 2024-2028 5-year Transportation Facilities Construction Program, items 6A through 6U project modifications.
Are there any questions on any of these items? Mr. Mack? No? Mr. Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just got one question because, every time I think I caught up to speed on everything that you guys do, I get confused. And so, can you explain to me what a sub-phase project is?
Yeah, well,
Is there several on this?
yeah, we can.
P2B. I don't need the detail on one. I'm just curious what a sub-phase project is.
Well, we have different phases, like design is a sub-phase, construction is a sub-phase, right-of-way is a sub-phase. And so when you look at the project numbers up on, typically on the PRB sheets, number 13 tells you the different phases, like 01D is design, 01C is construction. Then we have 03D for staff charges. And so those are just different areas. How we separate out the money so you can get, detailed transparency of where the dollars are going.
Thank you, Paul. That's the first time I'd seen an 01, using the 01 nomenclature to break them out versus the verbiage of what it is, like 01R. So thank you.
And on that note, Mr. Maxwell and Mr. Patney, there is some confusion because we'll have multiple requests on the same project. Some of these, and I don't have them listed out, but they're different phases on the same project, and it would be probably easier for us if there was a way of combining those, because ultimately you may have 3 presentations on 3 different phases on one project, and the odds of us saying no to one of multiple probably won't happen. And it might simplify the approval process if we could combine them. Or it's something that I'd ask you to look into, that's all.
And we tried to do that on the photos or the maps here. as you can see, when these are still project modifications, but when we get to still project modifications, I think it shows up on this one. Yes, yeah, we're here where we have two, like 6Z and 6AA. That's one project, but two different phases, and so they have to be set up in the system at two different phases for project accounting.
Understood. That if there was a way of combining them, it would probably make everybody, this side of the approval process a little more smoother. So anyhow, if you would, I'd ask you just to look into it.
Yes, sir. Understood, Chairman.
So getting back to that, if there's no other questions on 6A through 6U, I would entertain a motion.
So moved. Approval for all.
I have a motion by Ms. Howard, second by Mr. Mack. I'm going to go ahead and ask if there is any opposition to the motion. And if there's no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Please note, Mr. O'Rourke, that it was unanimous.
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead into the next set of items, which I believe is 6B through 6I.
Yes, these are, Chairman Cerro, board members, for your consideration, changes to the 2024-2028 5-year Transportation Facilities Construction Program. I'm going to break it up in two sections so it's not too confusing. Items 6B through 6Z and items 6AA through 6II are new projects.
The next screen on the...
Okay. Yes.
There you go. Are there any questions on any of these projects?
You told me to do that.
Are you asking?
No.
Well, you're asking them to approve all of the modifications, 6B through 6II.
Yes.
That's correct. That's what's in front of us here. So are there any questions on project 6D through 6II? And there's quite a few of them. Seeing no questions, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve items 6B through 6II.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Maxwell.
Okay.
And a second by Mr. Thompson. Okay. So, with that, is there any opposed to the motion in front of us? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. Item passes unanimously. All right. Next item, Mr. McPatney, item 7.
Thank you. Chairman Cerro, board members, today we'll talk about the AZ Smart program, and today we have 4 applications for you this month. And I won't go into a lot of detail. Anthony gave you an update on House Bill 2318. I'm just going to touch on a few other areas just to emphasize, and we definitely can have follow-up conversation on this as well. A couple areas that I wanted to focus on was the types of applicants. Okay, before only cities and towns and counties were eligible. Now any applicant eligible for a federal discretionary grant is eligible for AZ Smart.
Is that going to be different? Are we going to stay with the same categories, or are we going to have different pots for the different entities?
The intent is to have the same categories.
But I do think, Mr. Chair, to your point, one issue is the board did adopt a policy regarding how AZ Smart, how you would go through the process as guidance to staff. I think because of this, we would need to make a modification. So I see us coming back with some modification to the policy that would be in line with the new legislation. So that would be an issue at a future board meeting.
Correct.
Mr. Metro.
Well, I appreciate that as well, because obviously now, one of the things that I heard in the earlier comments about changes that allow the tribes and some others, so where does that fit in our current policy? We got to figure out a way to make that fit. I guess my big question is we've talked about who it's expanding for. Was any entity that was eligible prior to this? Because again, we were talking about being a smart rural transportation fund. Any entity that's currently eligible who is no longer eligible with these changes?
To my knowledge, I'll check with my subject matter expert there. No, not at this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair.
Then a couple other items I want to point out as part of the House bill that the board can identify and give preference on factors it deems appropriate instead of the two current factors of matching funds and project partners. One of the biggest authority, I think Anthony touched on this, is that each January and July, if the board chooses, they can rebalance the categories of each of the programs. And finally, because what we ran into on I think one occurrence is where local agencies are going after multiple sources of funding, okay, and in some cases and they were successful. So if they receive additional funding in addition to what the SMART fund is, they asked is that we resend the SMART fund because they'll have like double funding sources, and so it's I think you're circumventing the system in a way if you got double funding for the same request, if you got approved for two types of funding sources.
That's in the legislation?
Yes. So we'll move on to the four applications today. The four new ones are associated with the RAISE and the Rural Surface Transportation Grant Program. The first one is for the town of Clarkdale. The town is requesting $280,000 for design and other engineering services. The project will fund new multi-use paths and sidewalks. It will increase the multimodal access around Clarkdale, along with connect Upper Main Street and the Cement Plant Road to Highway 89A. The applicant intends to be the direct recipient if allowed under the NOFO, and they plan to pursue a 2025 RAISE grant. The next application is from Gila County. The request is for $1.041 million for design and other engineering services. The project will provide safe access to the Pinal Mountains, improve the only alternative route from Globe to Miami, and also move 2 miles of flood damaged roadway away from the Russell Gulch to improve roadway resiliency. Applicant is requesting ADOT to administer the program, and we heard from the communities from representatives from Gila County, and they also intend to pursue a 2025 RAISE grant.
And the amount for this one?
The amount is $1,041,199. Sorry. Next, we have City of Douglas. The RAISE Smart request is for $214,000. It's for design and engineering services. They intend to revitalize the streetscape. The project will expand sidewalks, create features, telecommunications, new landscape and irrigation, along with decorative site amenities. The applicant intends to be a direct recipient. They are planning to pursue a 2025 Rural Surface Transportation Grant. The next we have Cochise County. Their request is $4.4 million for design and other engineering services. The project is help facilitate the final design for the connector road for the new commercial port of entry being planned. The city of Douglas is also contributing $500,000. Cochise County is contributing $100,000. Applicant requests for ADOT administration, and the intent also is to pursue a 2025 RAISE grant. So just a quick summary of the applications. All 4 applications are eligible. The COGS and MPOs have given their approval. The Priority Planning Advisory Committee, PPAC, has also approved all applications to be considered by the board. The total requested in design is $5.935, $199,000. The request for grant development is 0. And here's the summary sheet. The yellow is what's currently available for the awards. As you can see, then after if there is approval on the pending request, those would be the new totals there on the bottom row.
So with that, if you go back that slide. So with that, it's municipalities over 10,000, that pot is about gone. Is that the best way of looking at that?
Yes, Chairman Searle.
All right, thank you.
And at the board's, Chairman Searle, at the board's discretion would be, you can lump these into one motion if desired.
Yeah, okay. First of all, are there any questions on any of these grant applications? If there's no questions, is there anyone opposed to lumping it into one motion instead of 4 separate motions? Any need? Then I would recommend that we make one motion with approval of all 4 grants. So, I would like there, as I said, I would like to do a motion.
I would make that motion.
Mr. Mack would make a motion to approve all 4 Arizona Smart Fund applications.
I'll second that motion.
And I have a second by Ms. Howard. Any additional comments or questions before I call for the vote?
I have one comment. Again, I love seeing these grant requests coming from smaller communities. It took a while to get going, but I am so happy to see them.
Okay. With that, and Mr. Maxson.
Yeah, it's what I like is the cooperation that was demonstrated between the city of Douglas and Cochise County on this. I mean, 4.4 million is an awfully big number on these RAISE grants, or on these smart fund applications that we've seen before. But the impact that the new port of entry and the advancement down there in Cochise County and Douglas could be significant, not only to those 2 communities, to that community and that county specifically, but absolutely throughout the state. We're always in competition with Texas for bringing goods and services through this border. So that's an awfully big number. I think this is a great example of the use of smart funds.
All right. With that said, is there anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Rohr, Chairman votes aye. Item passes unanimously.
That's unanimous. Thank you, sir. Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Item number 8. Mr. Byers. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Item 8, State Engineers Report. To date, we have 91 projects under construction worth $2.1 billion. We have 3 projects that were finalized in the month of March worth $4.9 million. And fiscal year to date, 43 projects have been finalized. As far as going through what we've got statewide for projects in the South Central District, we have, if I can get we have 3 projects. We have the I-10 widening, Ina to Ruthroff. That currently is 42% complete, and its construction's going well on that. We have the Country Club to Keno project, which is a design build procurement project that is right now we're pursuing that procurement. The Irvington TI on I-19. At this point, it's in design, and then the Border Patrol Station to Mosen Road down on SR 90. That project is currently under construction. In the North Central District. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, comment.
Yes.
Sure, thank you. And Greg, just wanted to take one moment to give some thanks and kudos to the ADOT team and the construction teams that are working on those projects. I-10 in our part of the world is the only freeway that we have. And those 2 widenings are of significant efforts and big pulls. It's had very little impact on the traffic flow, particularly at the high points of travel through the day, in the morning and the afternoon. So the ADOT and the contractors that you've got working down there are all doing an outstanding job, and I just wanted to say thanks and make sure you pass that on.
I will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
In the North Central District, we have 3 projects as well going on. We have the North Lake Powell Boulevard Roundabout that is going on. It is supposed to be advertised in June of this year. We also have the US 89 project. This is a pavement preservation project that will be starting in May. And then we also have the I-17 pavement preservation project. That is currently, it has new striping and additional barriers and so forth. That project will begin construction in next year. So the next one we have is Southwest District, and if I can get to it online. Southwest District has the I-10 truck parking availability project that is getting ready to kick off. We also have the I-10 Dome Rock Road northeast of Skaden Wash. That project is also getting ready to award, or actually is coming up for award. And then we also have the US 95 project that we're working on. It says 95 or 85 on the slide, but it's actually 95. That one is some box culverts, and that one is getting ready to kick off as well. Let's see here. The next one we have is Southeast District. Oops. If I can get my computer to work. Southeast District, we have the Tonto Creek Bridge, which is 94% complete and was spoken about earlier. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's actually a very impressive bridge across the Tonto Valley. We also have the US 70 Black Hills Country Byway. It's a pavement preservation project. It's just getting kicked off here recently, as well as the East Wilcox TI bridge rehab, and that's scheduled to advertise coming in October.
Greg, back on the Southeast District, please.
Yes. Oops.
The repairs at 191 TI there at, was it 334?
Yep.
It seems to be progressing well. One question I've got is the roundabout on Freeway up in Greenlee County. I think we put that out for bid. Where was that at this time? Do you know?
So at this point in time, we're I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember which one that is. I don't have the latest update on that, but I can certainly get you the information.
Okay.
So I'll get it to you before I leave today. So, any other questions on?
No, thank
since you opened up for any other questions, stay here. So you said that on the one slide on, I guess, be the Southwest District. You said it says State Route 85, and you said it's actually State Route 95, but I think unless the circle's drawn in the wrong spot too, I believe that is State Route 85.
Yeah, you are correct on that. It is. My text is wrong on my slide.
All right, sorry to sidetrack you there. Go ahead.
Let's see here. Northwest District, we have the Ashford Creek bridges, which are currently getting ready to, or actually they're working on those. The Fort Rock TI, Markham Wash eastbound, this is also on I-40. That project is currently 17% complete. They're actually a little bit behind schedule on that. The Continental or Centennial Wash Bridge on I-40, work gets ready to start on it coming up next month. Northeast District, we have, I don't know why my computer won't work here. Northeast District, we have the Coyote Wash Bridge project that's starting off. Actually, it started off this past week, so it's 0% complete at this point in time. We have the Pinta to McCarroll I-40 project. That one is also 0% complete. It'll be starting, actually it's supposed to start this past week as well. So we've got two major projects going on Northeast District. Then we also have the junction at SR 277 forest boundary. That project is currently underway. And then we also have the Overguard Cumberland SR 260. That project is a life extension project, and it is getting ready to be awarded. So, before we get to the next item, I would like to make one announcement. Well, if I can get this to go backwards. We have Bruce Fensky did the presentation for the Southwest District. And Bruce, would you mind standing up for a minute? So Bruce, after a very illustrative career, has decided to retire. And today is his last day. So I'd like to give him a big round of applause for all of his service.
No wonder his report was so short.
Thank you very much, Bruce. With that, that ends the district engineer's report.
Any questions?
Mr.
Thompson.
You know, Rick, can you give me the status on the North Lake Powell again? I didn't quite hear you on it.
Oh, on the roundabout?
Yes.
So on that is, I'm going to have to get back to you because I'm not sure exactly on what the full status is. I know there was some issues going on, so let me kind of pull that up to get you the exact.
And then the Coyote Wash is now, what's the status on that?
That one's that's underway right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Barber. Let's go to contract.
Okay, so item 9, new construction contracts. We have, oops, come on. So we have currently, right, if you're just looking at this, you can see the totals of where we're at to date. We are substantially under on engineers' estimates, which is a good thing because that means that we have additional funding for contingencies. So we're doing very good on an annual basis. The monthly totals kind of rolls all the way through. As you can see what we've got all the way through the year. You can also see that we have been fairly consistent on being slightly or bids coming in slightly under. We've been holding steady with all of our unit prices because it's still been, we've seen variability, but it is somewhat steadied out compared to what we had seen over the last year.
Greg, you put that to the economy a little bit. You know, there for probably a year and a half, we were behind on, we were underestimating most of these, and I think we made some adjustments for that. Now we seem to be over a little bit. So
the two biggest items that we've seen is the cost of oil, specifically asphalt, and the cost of cement have both steadied out. So we had a cement shortage, which just drove the price of cement through the roof, and now the supply is back normalized somewhat, so the prices have also normalized. So that's a big plus. Prices on oil up until just the last couple of weeks have somewhat steadied out as well. So over the last couple of weeks, we've seen some pretty substantial increases on some of the grades of oil. And the reason I say that is there is a storage of existing different grades of asphalt. So in some cases, and you're going to see one that I'm going to present later today, where the cost of the oil actually dropped. But those oils that are in storage tend to sell off a little bit cheaper than those that are high in demand, where there's a much smaller shortage or storage.
Mr. Chair, I have another question real quick. Greg, back to contingencies. Could you guide us through how we utilize those, and do they go through some of the PPAC projects that we have extra funding for? Do we use the contingencies there, or do you come back to us for approval to transfer these contingencies to other projects, or how is that?
So the contingencies that we have, as you just saw several projects that came through for approval. Some of those, that's where some of that contingency is going into. So it comes back, it stays within the program for the most part, which allows us to take and utilize those for projects as we come through.
Okay, thank you.
So the first construction project we have is item 9A. And with 9A, we have, this is a pavement preservation project on US 60. The low bid was $1,964,864. The state's estimate was $2,330,295. Difference is $365,431, or 15.7% under. The low bidder is going to self-perform the milling operations, so there wasn't a additional cost for milling. Also, he has found a disposal site that's within 20 minutes of construction location, so the haul is much shorter and much cheaper than what was anticipated. The low bidder has also received a low quote for aggregate, which is being utilized for the microsurfacing. And after analyzing the bid, it appears to be a responsive and responsible bid. We recommend award to Sunland Asphalt and Construction.
Could I have a motion, please?
So moved that we award this project 9A to Sunland.
I have a motion from Ms. Howard to approve item 9A, contract to Sunland Asphalt and Construction LLC as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Meck. Any questions?
Yes. In this particular case, we're at 15% down. Over the last year, of course, it's been 25% over. So saying something was 25% drops to 15, when did this bid process start? And then when was it awarded, just out of curiosity?
So it usually advertises from anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks before it was advertised. In this particular case, it was advertised roughly about 2 weeks ago. So that's the time frame. One of the biggest things that occurred, and I did not mention on this one, is we had 4 bidders on this project, which here for the last couple of years, that's a lot of bidders on a single project. So the competitiveness on this particular project was very great.
Then on the projects that have already done, I think that kind of follows what Jenny was saying. What happens to this money that's saved on this particular project? Say, if it was, you have money left over, you know, where we bid under, but then let's say that there's money left over. Where does that extra, that funding go?
That funding does fall directly into our contingency, so it comes right back in for use on other projects within this fiscal year.
So let me just ask you a question. I mean, I've been hearing about 347 now for several months by a lot of people, and this just a recent thing we just mentioned earlier. That's unbelievable. I mean, that's beyond anything I've ever seen, heard of. I mean, other than on 17 going north and south, where you have something shut down. I mean, the whole road shut down for 6 or 8 hours, but this is the whole town. You know, and I can't imagine that. So I know I'm one, and just a thought, is there any way these kind of money, if there's going to be some monies left over from past projects and current, that some of that money could be applied to help that 347 issue?
So, Mr. Chair, Board Member Meck, if we have projects that are within the program or within that we can utilize coming through a sub-program, and we have contingencies that we can utilize, you bet. We do that. We do it all the time across the state as those needs, because those needs change during the course of the year, and so consequently projects change in prioritization as well for the sub-programs, which is why we're constantly taking a look at what we've got coming up. If we have the availability to do that, most certainly we do. 347, on the other hand, the widening project that we're looking at for actually needing to do is way larger than we possibly have in contingency. But one of the things that we are looking at is how do we take in future years in the 5-year program that's currently out, is looking at, okay, is there a means that we can take and reprioritize some projects to be able to make room for projects such as 347 in particular? So it's an ongoing thing, and with the tentative program, that's something we've been looking at very strongly to be able to see if there's a means to be able to do that in the future years of the tentative program.
Sure. Well, I can understand that, you know, the portals, those are critical. They need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
But when you have a whole city shut down, I mean, a road shut down on a freeway, that's normal. Driving from here to Phoenix, you know, at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9, you're shut down at 83rd Avenue. It shuts down, not because of wrecks, it's just people, but when you shut down an entire city and streets and roads, and you know, that's terrible. So I just asked the question, thank you, and I would like for the board, if there's any time that we can really look at something like these, the ports and this, where there's extra money or whatever. Doctor, I'm off on a rabbit chase here, but it just seems like that those are things that come up that really need to be attended to, not in a 5-year program. And I was looking at a couple of slides earlier, and I kind of thought, well, that's the boldest schedule. You know, 5 years and 10 years and all these different stages. And I understand we have to go through those stages, but the other side of that, when you have an emergency like shutting down the city, you know, that's pretty serious. So anyway, thank you. I'm not threatening or anything like that. I'm really concerned about that, and I've been that way for a year, but it's really gotten bad now, way over, beyond whatever I could even imagine. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's kind of what I was alluding to with, and I think that's what Chairman Searle was alluding to, is can we get 347 to a place where I understand if it's not on the plan, there's nothing we can do, but can we get it to a place where if there is a possibility of funding a portion or a scope of the project or a part of the project that can be completed with that funding, what can we do to get to that point? And you are working on it. It's a step, I think, in the right direction. So,
And then also on Mr. Mack's question, it's my understanding that a number of those projects that we approved in the today earlier was because of some additional funding that came up. And so that money is recycling back through and bringing projects up. But your point is well made, but we understand that the 347, that's an ambitious project. But we need to start addressing it, though. So, all right.
Mr. Chairman, if I might as well, I think it'd be good for us to do a presentation on contingency that Christine can come and present to you at your discretion, whether in the next board meeting or into the future, but it'd be good information for you all to have as well.
Mr. Michael.
Listening to this conversation too, if possible, it'd be great to have an update for us on what is the request from 347, because we've heard a lot, we hear about the problems and the specifics, but depending where they are on the design or the idea, what is necessary to fix the current backlog, it might give us a better understanding of the scope of what they're asking for and where it might fit in.
Yeah, we're kind of getting off track, guys. Let's bring it back to the item in front of us here. And I think we can touch on this at the end of the meeting if we need to. And so let's get back to where we're at. And I do have a motion, and it is seconded, and I think we're done with the discussion, so I'm going to go ahead and call for the, actually, I'm going to find out if there's any opposition to the motion in front of us. Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Your contract is awarded. Let's go to your next one.
Next item is item 9B. For this project, there was 3 bidders. This is a pavement preservation project on SR 260. The low bid was $1,443,522. The state's estimate was $2,275,177, a difference of $831,655, or 36.6%. The low bidder in this particular case had aggregate chips were within 35 miles of the construction site for the chip seal. The material can be pre-coated at that same location. The state's estimate was based on additional haul distance as well as additional haul for the coating of the material, so there was a substantial savings that we saw in that. The low bidders' production rates were also quite a bit higher than what was estimated for this, which also added to the reduction in costs. After analyzing the low bid, it appears to be a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to VSS International, Inc.
All right, thank you. Mr. Thompson, would you like to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to acknowledge a really good friend of mine whom I worked with in Navajo County while we were there, Homero Vela. Good to see you, my friend. I know that this is probably one of the projects you looked at in the past. So with that, I'd like to make a motion, to award the contract to VSS International, Inc.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Thompson. It was a long motion, but I entertained a second. Second by Mr. Maxwell. All right. Very good.
If there's no other questions or comments, is there anyone opposed to the motion in front of us? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chairman votes aye. Item passes unanimously. Our next contract.
Thank you. The next item is item 9C. This is a pedestrian improvement project in Fountain Hills. The project includes, go ahead and go through the numbers. Low bid was $3,366,765. State's estimate was $2,869,912, a difference of $496,853, or 17.3% over the state's estimate. The project includes construction within several major local streets, including the intersections. Construction activities in order to build this are going to be very fragmented, which results in much lower production rates than what was anticipated. Survey in this particular case will also take more time, as it's requiring traffic control within those fragmented segments. But after reviewing and analyzing the low bid, it appears to be a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Combs Construction Company.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to award item 9C to Combs Construction Company, Inc., as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Mack. I have a second, please.
Second.
And Mr. Thompson, thank you. Is there anyone opposed to the motion in front of us? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chairman votes aye. Item 9C passes unanimously. And then we'll go to 9D.
Yes, item 9D is the installation of rumble strips. This is, got the right one up there. This has a low bid for this particular one. There was 4 bidders that we had. Low bid is $667,930. State's estimate is $910,581, a difference of $242,651, or 26.6% under the engineer's estimate. For this particular project, the low bidder has a much higher production rate for the fog coat, striping and surveying, as well as for the rumble strip installations than was estimated by the state. The biggest difference that we had was because this is such a small quantity, the contractor felt they could do it much faster. After analyzing the low bid, it appears to be a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Combs Construction Company, Inc.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to award item 9D to Combs Construction Company, Inc. Don't everyone do it at the same time, please.
I was, Mr. Chair, I was thinking that if Gary Knight was here, he would say, as this is in my district. So on behalf of Gary, I move that we approve item I-9D and award it to Combs Construction, Inc.
Second.
And I have a second. Thank you. And please let the minutes note that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Maxwell, a proxy for Mr. Knight, and a second by Mr. Thompson to award item 9D to Combs Construction Company. If there's any, I would call for any opposition. Is there any nays? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chairman votes aye. Item 9D passes unanimously. 9E.
9E is a safety improvement project in Pinal County. For this, we had 2 bidders. The low bid was $959,819. State's estimate was $854,406, a difference of $105,406, or 12.3% over the state's estimate. In this particular case, there was the paving lanes that we have are extremely narrow. which means the contractor cannot use a full-size paving machine for doing the work. They're going to have to use a much smaller machine, which slows down their production rates. The contractor will utilize that smaller paver. Also on this, the quantities of conductors needed for the project is fairly small, to the point where commercially available conductors, you have to buy a much larger quantity, so the contractor had to throw those additional quantities in for his bid. But after taking and analyzing the bid, this is a responsible and responsive bid, and we recommend award to AJP Electric, Inc.
All right, any other questions? This time, I would take a motion to award item 9E to AJP Electric, Inc.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Howard.
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Daniels. Thank you. I've been hearing your vote, but we're glad to get you on the record. And with that, is there anyone opposed to the motion in front of us? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Item 9E passes unanimously. Go to 9F.
The item 9F is a shoulder paving project in Gila County. In this particular case, the low bid was $2,910,697. State's estimate was $3,040,029, or a difference of $129,332, or 4.3% under the engineer's estimate. The low bidder for this project, we did have an issue with. The DBE paperwork that came through was not completed correctly. We went through and did a complete analysis of the DBE paperwork and found it to be, or considered it to be non-material. After analysis of the low bid, it was determined that the bid is a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Earth Resources Corporation. Just to add to that, there was a letter sent out to all the bidders of the discrepancy, and there was no protests came through.
Any questions? A motion then to award item 9F to Earth Resources Corporation as presented.
So moved.
Ms. Howard, is there a motion, a second?
Second.
Mr. Meck, thank you. Is there any opposed to the motion? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Item 9F is unanimous. Item number 9G.
Item 9G is some intersection improvements on SR 303 and US 60. In this particular case, there was one bidder. The low bid came in at $3,688,708. State's estimate was $2,810,715, a difference of $877,993, or 31.2% over the engineer's estimate. As we went through this one bid that we received, we analyzed several of the different bid items. Some of them could not be justified for the costs. Therefore, it is recommended that all bids be rejected for this project. We anticipate taking and rebidding this project in May and bringing it back to the board in June.
Do you anticipate changes to the project with this?
The one big thing that we're going to take a look at the bid items that were very high and analyze those. But the other thing we're doing is making sure that we have a very concerted effort on attracting more bidders for this particular project.
Okay, Mr. Brown. So I have a motion. I have a recommendation to reject all bids on item 9G. If there's no other questions or comments, I would appreciate a motion.
I would make a motion we reject 9B.
A motion by Mr. Meck,
I'll second.
a second by Ms. Howard. Any other discussion or questions? Not seeing any. Anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. The bids are rejected.
Thank you.
Unanimous. All right. Thank you, Mr. Byers.
Thank you.
I have a comment, Chair. It's awfully busy. We appreciate staff. I know they're overloaded just by looking at all the work that's being done and the work we're seeing as we drive through our beautiful state. So we appreciate all of you for your efforts. Thank you.
So just for your edification, the next 2 months are going to be much busier than what we've seen.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder. All right, item number 10 is to suggestions for future agenda items. And kind of on that note, I'll lead this out. And with this comment with Ms. Howard, I know we have parameters on these contracts where they can meet the consent agenda or not. And I would say that a majority of these, where they've come in at such a low amount, I don't know why they shouldn't be on the consent agenda, because normally we don't have much of an issue with it. So we might want to discuss the parameters of what contracts apply to the consent agenda and what they don't. And it's great to be able to see these and discuss why they are coming in, but on the flip side, it's we could speed things up a little bit. So any other suggestions for future agenda items?
Mr. Chair, just to comment on that, because I don't think there would probably be something that comes in 20% under or more that they'd ever recommend a rejection of all bids, but I would say any rejection must come to the board. If you change the policy on what we bring out of consent.
If I may chime in on that comment as well, Chairman.
Yeah. Ms. Daniels?
It's great to be able to see the shifts in approach when it comes to the state's estimate. I mean, we're basing these percentages off of the state's estimate. So if we're consistently seeing, an adjustment needs to be made on the state's estimate, then I think that having this process can flag that for us. So I just, whatever approach we take, I just would love for there to be, some additional clarity in those numbers.
Understood, and I thought about that as well, but they are in the packet, and we do have the opportunity to review them prior to the meeting, and we can always ask for things to be taken off the consent agenda as well. So,
agreed.
All right, Mr. Thompson.
One comment. You heard me say this many times. The state of Arizona, they have school districts on Native American communities. Some way we need to contribute to the maintenance of some of those. All we have out there is dirt roads, what they're public roads. We need to find ways to help them. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. If there's no other items, I am going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all, and thank you, Buckeye.